And people wonder why I cannot stand the hot take debate society that we live in. This is it right here. Pure idiocracy. Literally, Barstool Sports suggested that Indiana forfeit the game this weekend because the committee, quote, values point loss differentials. And so since the game would go down as a 1-point loss with a forfeit, the committee would basically go, oh, it was only a 1-point loss. No, the committee would go, you forfeited the football game. You didn't think that you could beat Ohio State, so you ducked out of the football game. That's literally how the committee would view it. Then on top of that, you've got Joey Galloway over at ESPN saying that Indiana should bench Curtis Rourke. Are you kidding me right now? Well, it's because of what happened to Jordan Travis. Okay, first of all, that happened against a football team. What was it, UAB or whoever the hell that was? Secondly, it was a freak injury. What happened to playing to win? Everybody's running around talking about how soft their schedule is. They haven't played anybody. They haven't earned anything yet. But you want to pull these trick maneuvers to force the committee's hand as if the committee, I mean, come on, let's keep it a buck. The committees aren't making really great decisions, but for sake, man, you cannot sit there and tell me that the committee would not go, you benched your quarterback. Why are you afraid of your quarterback? Because of what one committee did last season? You're telling us that if he gets hurt, even if he win the game, that we're still going to leave you out? You're afraid of going undefeated again? I to an extent get it because it's already happened. But this is a game that they have to win. They have to beat Ohio State. Florida State got left out when they were undefeated. Jordan Travis or not, they were an undefeated football team and they got left out. Indiana has to win this game. You play to win games like this. This is what your season has been building towards, is this game right here. Now, you can say maybe they got caught looking forward last weekend, whatever you want to say. But the reality is if we're going to start talking about common opponents and all these things, Indiana has a huge win over Nebraska that Colorado couldn't beat. They got blown out in that game, particularly in the first half. In the second half, obviously, Colorado played better. But what I'm saying is they still lost big time in that football game. Ohio State struggled with Nebraska, really should have lost that football game. Indiana literally whipped the hell out of them. This is it. This is your time to go. Our common opponents between these other teams that you're all looking at as potentials for the college football playoff, you're telling us that we have to beat an Ohio State caliber football team. That's the common denominator is Nebraska. Now what? You just lay down? That doesn't even begin to make sense. And people think I'm crazy. Do you know how much these people are being paid to say this nonsense? Then on top of all that, speaking of Colorado, you've got Deion, Michael Irvin, Paul Feinbaum, all these people telling Deion Sanders what he should do with his career. You've got Colin Cowherd and Stephen A. Smith literally telling the Dallas Cowboys. Stephen A. was replying to Micah Parsons when he said this. Literally was talking to Micah Parsons when he said, you guys should just forfeit the season. You should tank the year, give it up so you should get Shedeur, and then hire Coach Prime. So we're talking about rigging football games is literally what Stephen A. is suggesting. The same media people, and by the way, Colin Cowherd has invited the idea as well. The same media people that chastised the Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots, Tim Donaghy, all these other teams and individuals, you chastise them and question the integrity of the game and question the leagues, the NBA, the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. You question these leagues and their integrity, but literally here you are on a microphone going, you know what you need to do? Just tank the season. Rest of your year doesn't matter. Just give up and get Shedeur. Literally rig games, which, by the way, is not legal. So I don't want to hear anybody in the media claim the moral high ground on anything anymore. Not until those BS statements are retracted, but they're not going to be. Stephen A has literally doubled and tripled down on that notion. And why are we trying to tell Prime what to do with his damn life anyway? Why? Look, here, I've said what I think is going to happen, but I'm not telling Coach Prime what he should do. You don't hear me looking into a camera and going, you know what you should do, Prime? It's his life, man. What I think he will do is leave Colorado. I know they just got that big-time recruited quarterback, and that's all fine and dandy, but that doesn't mean that he's sticking around, okay? I think if he ends up anywhere, it'll be Florida State, if I'm being honest with you. Regardless of what happens, and me personally, if I'm going to say what I would like to see, I would like to see him play it all out at Colorado. I've been a huge supporter of it since it began, but they've lost some bigger games, okay? And I want to see them, I want Prime to see it through. That's what I would want. But what I want and what he's going to do are 99% likely that it's two entirely different things. And who the hell am I to tell a man how to manage his career? John Elway covered this years ago with the Terry Bradshaw situation, and then he reiterated it again on the 30 for 30 Elway to Marino. Why was Terry Bradshaw upset with me in the way I was managing my career? You got Paul Feinbaum saying he should go to the SEC because everybody's got an ulterior motive here. Let's not forget that the first name that Stephen A. threw out was Bill Belichick. But Bill Belichick works there. So he's probably told all of them, I'm not going to go to Dallas. And why would he? Bill Belichick and Coach Prime, I guarantee you, are two people that are not about to put up with Jerry Jones and his control freak BS. The closest thing coaching-wise that he has had that would be similar to Dion would be Jimmy Johnson, and he screwed that up because of his ego, demanding Jimmy Johnson reportedly shake his hand and give him credit and all this other BS. You think Prime and Belichick are going to play that noise? When did you ever see Robert Kraft get on a microphone or in front of a camera and take credit for the New England Patriots? Now, he said that he should be in the Hall of Fame over Jerry Jones, but I think that was a frustration thing. But the whole time that Brady and Belichick were there, how many times did you see Robert Kraft get in front of a camera and go, me, bro? The ego of this man is way too much. Now, in terms of money and all that kind of stuff, him and Prime would absolutely work together. But literally every other facet. Does anybody remember what happened with Bill Parcells? That's when all of this started. Bill Parcells was getting into it with T.O., which that was nothing new for anybody in case the league forgot all about that. T.O. kept griping, I'm open, wide open, he's always open. Everybody's on the sideline and was going, why aren't you throwing him the football? No quarterback ever sees Terrell Owens open, as if he's not T.O. and he's not the first option. Get serious. He goes to Jerry Jones and says, I'm not getting the football enough. Jerry goes to Bill Parcells and says, hey, we need to start da-da-da-da-da. And Parcells is like, this is not how I coach. You own, you GM, I coach, that's it. In other words, sign the checks, man, and I'll take care of everything else. Now, you could talk about the lack of success with Bill Parcells, and that's a completely different conversation. The point of what I'm saying is Parcells had already been to how many Super Bowls, completely turned around the Giants, brought the Patriots from a dark place. Come on, man. You screwed the pooch one too many times. Prime and Belichick are not about to put up with that madness. It's chaos. And they're not going to deal with the coach after every loss getting on TV and then going into the locker room and just micromanaging, flying in on choppers. I don't need you here, bro. What I need you to do is back the hell off so I can coach this football team. You don't get a say-so. I don't care if you think we need to throw the football more or run the football more or whatever. I need you to sign the checks and let me do this. But Jerry has made sure that he's in the position of power that he's in. He refuses to let go of the GM spot. Do you see how he's just caving down? They're not. A lot of coaches right now are looking at that situation that are going to be desperate that wouldn't take that job. Seriously. And as far as Colorado goes, I think Prime is worried about KU this weekend after what happened with BYU last weekend. That's what I think he's focused on. Speaking of that, BYU, obviously Arizona State. Look, this is kind of a weekend where in college football, all the winners basically control their own destiny at this point. Right? You've got Indiana and Ohio State. The winner definitely going to be in the college football playoff. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. And as far as Ohio State goes, let's keep it a buck. Ryan Day at this point is coaching for his job. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to say, come on, man, he's been winning a lot of football games. He's been getting to the college football playoff. He was tight in a game with Georgia when TCU got blown out. I get all that. But at some point at Ohio State, you have to win either a very relevant bowl game, you have to beat Michigan, or you got to get a title. I mean, legitimately, preferably 2 out of 3 to most Ohio State fans. They want to beat Michigan, and then everything else after that, they'll figure it out. That's where that is. So you got to start there, but you've also got to start by beating relevant football teams, which, look, regardless of how you want to view how it went down with Oregon, let's just throw that aside and forget about what happened at the end of that game itself, and let's just look at the fact. Oregon is an undefeated football team right now, and that probably would have been Ohio State's biggest win. You struggled with Nebraska. He's got a losing record against Michigan right now. At the end of the day, you've got to start winning some relevant games, and it's going to have to start with Indiana, who I know a lot of people are saying, well, they haven't played anybody. What's the significance is they're an undefeated football team. The significance is if they win, they're in the college football playoff. The significance is if you lose, you are risking it all because there are, I think I counted 8 teams from the SEC that are in the top 25 right now. They are going to get a massive boost ahead of you if you lose that football game. Win and you're in, lose and you're probably out. And that goes for Indiana too. It is literally a must-win football game. Because if you lose that game, especially if you get blown out, they're going to go, look, you're wasting everybody's time. They're going to drop them all the way down to 15, and they're going to bring in at least 1 or 2 SEC teams back up to the forefront. I mean, that's just the way that that's going to work. Same thing with BYU and Arizona State. Look, the winner of that football game literally has the control to get to the Big 12 championship. The winner of that football game potentially solidifies their spot in the college football playoff. Now, Arizona State got off to a rough start, but they've won, 5, 6 games in a row, somewhere in that neighborhood now. And in BYU, let's keep it a buck here, their schedule hasn't been the best. And losing to a bad KU football team was not a good look at this time of the year. You are literally fighting for your playoff lives. If you win, you still have a significant chance. You lose, you're probably out. And that is even if BYU only finishes the year with 2 losses, they're going to need they're going to need some significant things to happen in order for them to keep their spot. And don't forget, you got Colorado hanging around, who, by the way, has KU this weekend. Now, they've already got the loss to Kansas State. So a loss to KU, I mean, that ends it, right? Especially that, you've had the loss to Nebraska. It takes you out of the equation. So again, if you win, you still probably control your destiny. Same thing with Notre Dame and Army. If Army loses, they're out. Because the schedule is what it is. Notre Dame's already taken care of business against Navy, right? They were a top 25 football team going into that game. Notre Dame handled business. Notre Dame's got the loss, though, to Northern Illinois, and even though they have the win over Texas A&M, you lose to Navy or to Army, and I'm going to tell you what, now you have 2 losses to 2 football teams with fairly weak schedules. The Northern Illinois game is no longer seen as a fluke, but is seen as this is who you really are, and the win over A&M probably gets seen more as a fluke than anything else. So not only do I think Notre Dame has to win this game, and look, this isn't my opinion. This is how I think the committee is going to view this. If you're Notre Dame, I think you have to win in a blowout. I think if you win that game close, you are leaving yourself susceptible. Now, I know somebody out there is going to go, man, big brand, big brand. Florida State is as big as brand as you can get, and they were undefeated, and they were ACC champs, and they were left out. I don't give a damn what the excuse was. The fact is they were left out. So you cannot risk anything right now this time of the year because you don't know how a vote-in process is going to work outside of your favor. You don't know when it's going to bite you in the ass. And again, you have all these SEC teams that are just hanging around. No. I personally think Notre Dame has to win that game. Now, simultaneously, if Army wins, that gives them a huge boost. And I think they end up in the top 15. And then from there, everything just plays itself out, and eventually they probably get voted in to a 12 spot. Obviously, you still got Boise State in their position, but we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, if Army wins that game, they stay alive. They lose, that's it. It's probably over for them. I'm just saying. All right. Daniel Jones. Look, here's my thing. When I was watching that initially yesterday, when he basically gave the farewell speech, there were two things that came to my mind. Number one, he already knows that he's done with the Giants. I think they told him that they were going to release him. And even then, getting benched at this point in the season, given what happened last year, the fact that he's only had one good year, that one good year Saquon was healthy, let's be honest. You knew your time was coming. I think for me, the only thing I didn't like about it, and look, I know people are going to say he's all class and everything, and that's fine, but I just look at it as he was trying to kind of put himself in that Tony Romo space. Just not working for me. This was not a situation where you think to yourself, you've got the best team that you've ever had. It's not that they're without talent. Don't get me wrong. They're not the most stacked roster in the NFL. There's a lot of improvement to be made, but getting rid of Saquon Barkley over not wanting to pay Daniel Jones $40 million to hand the ball off to Saquon, well, where are you at now and where's Philly? I was saying from the jump that it wasn't going to work out with Daniel Jones. I have no idea what they saw in the man, and he needs a specific game plan to work in order for everything to – it's got to be fluid. When it's not fluid, he fails. If everything breaks down, he can't. And, I said last season that I felt like I watched plays where Saquon just gave up, and so did the rest of the team. There were plays when I thought to myself, Saquon is looking around going, this team has given up. I'm not going to do anything either. I think Saquon was only bitter because I feel like the Giants threw him away. And I feel like he thinks you pretty much wasted some of the best years of my career. Now, I know that Saquon was injury prone and has been and still kind of is. But what he's doing right now with the Philadelphia Eagles, he has literally given them their best chance to win. And that is really all there is to that. Saquon has literally given them the best chance to win. He gave the Giants their best chance to win. I think, honestly, when you look at it, most people are going to feel like, really, you did Saquon a favor. Because you literally have no idea what the hell you're doing. You're clueless. You're a clueless football team. I don't know why you're starting Tommy DeVito. As a Syracuse fan, I can appreciate it. Also, as a Syracuse fan, I can tell you, I don't know how the man's in the league. And as a Syracuse fan, I can tell you, you might get one or two really good games out of him, and that'll be about it. He's just popular. And his agent is a marketing genius. And you got to have something good about the Giants because there's nothing to really brag about at all. So really what you're doing at this point is you're selling tickets. Let's keep it a buck. You are trying to keep fans in the seats, and you're giving them potentially a false hope of the next year, but I don't think so, man. And look, the way things are going right now, Prime keeps saying that Shador's not going to play in the cold. Depending on how things go, he might end up in the cold. I'm just saying. He could end up in Dallas, who knows, but I think that there are better situations. Honestly, if I'm Shador, I'm pulling a John Elway. I'm pulling a Bo Jackson. I'm pulling an Eli Manning. I'm not going somewhere that isn't close to being ready. It's not happening. Even if they make a bunch of moves in the offseason. I'm just saying. All right. Pittsburgh, first of all, can people stop asking Mike Tomlin stupid questions? A few years ago, Mike Tomlin was asked about coaching college football. And he took offense to it, and he had every right to. He said, look, I have the best job in all professional sports. Why would I think about going and coaching college football? Then he says, anybody asking Andy Reid about that? Okay. So points should have been taken. But no, Antonio Brown's like, oh, play for the Steelers for free. Does anybody remember how that went down? Does nobody see Antonio Brown's Twitter? Does nobody remember how it went down with the Raiders, the Patriots, the Buccaneers? Any thoughts on that? You know what his thought is. You're looking for your clickbait. That's literally what that question is. It might as well be a troll job, which is fine because with what's going on right now, the takes that we're seeing for college football and Prime and all that, I mean, you want to talk about some troll jobs, they're all time right now. But the point is, that's a stupid question to ask. And they just lost a really tough game to a divisional opponent. And as happy as we all are for Jameis Winston because, he's such a nice dude, but he still turns the football over. Let's not pretend that he doesn't. Let's not pretend that he's still not dangerous with the football. Pittsburgh's going to look back on that game and think that they should have won. Now, Pickens can say, well, the weather affected us and Cleveland's not that good of a football team. Brody, both of you played in the snow. Nobody had it better than anybody. And before it really turned into a blizzard, you had plenty of opportunities. Missed field goal. Offensive line didn't block that good. You've got Russell Wilson having a rollout all the time. He took some massive hits, including that fourth down completion. And that's another thing. You're going for it on fourth down too much. You're running the football on first, second, sometimes even third down. The play calling is mundane. When you throw the ball on first, you're pretty damn successful. I don't know why you're not mixing up the play calling a little bit more. I think they still are AFC Championship contenders at the bare minimum. But at some point, you've got to seal the deal in the red zone, right? I mean, this is pretty obvious stuff. We're not talking quantum physics right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're not trying to figure out what's going on in the ionosphere. We're not looking at Saturn or Neptune or Mars and trying to figure anything out. We are simply looking at this football team and going, you have got to finish a job in the red zone. And that's all there is to it. And when you're consistently having to go for it on fourth down, that's symptomatic of bad football. You've got to open up the playbook. This is control freak stuff when you've got a quarterback like Russell Wilson who's showing you he could still chuck the football and stop with Justin Fields already. Okay, I can appreciate what they're doing. I can appreciate where they're coming from. But you've got to get rid of this gimmicky BS. You're putting him in all the wrong situations. Just stop it already. Make a final decision for real. You've got your quarterback. Stop this. Okay, Justin Fields is not Tim Tebow. Okay, we're not, he's not Taysom Hill. Those guys are built like fucking linebackers with the packages that they are running. That's not Justin Fields. And even then, the play calling is pretty damn obvious for the most part when he's in there. So you have got to make a decision on that. I love Tomlin. I've supported him. I've been a supporter of his, but it's okay to say when he gets it wrong. I love Russ, been a supporter of his, but it's okay to say when he gets it wrong. There are still plenty of things that they have got to clean up. I mean, and that's just really all there is to it. All right, really quick here tonight, UNLV, they're playing. I mean, I think they got to, again, you win, you got to get in. I'm just saying. All right, guys, I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I'm wherever you listen to the podcast. I am not hard to find. Google me, son. I am easy to find. Guys, have a great weekend. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of your day and or night.